According to the National Center for PTSD, about 8% of people will experience PTSD at any time in his or her lifetime. After a trauma, most people will feel a range of emotions for dealing with the trauma. If their problems consistently affect their life, then they may be clinically diagnosed with PTSD. Post-traumatic stress disorder is prevalent in the United States, yet most people don't know what PTSD is, what the symptoms are, or how it is treated. PTSD is a disorder that develops in some people that have been through a traumatic, scary, or dangerous event. Other than the obvious symptoms, people who have PTSD may feel stressed, frightened, even when they're not in danger. Often, symptoms of PTSD develop within 3 months of one's traumatic event, but the symptoms may also begin years after. Symptoms must last more than a month and be severe enough to interfere with relationships or work to be clinically diagnosed as PTSD. Symptoms may include flashbacks, being easily startled, insomnia, angry outbursts, trouble remembering key features of a traumatic event, feeling guilt or shame, or suicidal thoughts or actions. After being diagnosed with PTSD, people may also have additional problems, including feeling of hopelessness, shame, or despair. Whenever you think of PTSD, most people think solely of adults. Children as well as adults can develop PTSD. Children and teens can have extreme reactions to trauma, but their symptoms may or may not be the same as adults. The National Institute of Mental Health stated if a child is younger than 6, their symptoms may include wetting the bed after having learned to use the toilet, forgetting how to or being unable to talk, acting out the scary events during playtime, or being unusually clingy with a parent or another adult. According to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, children with PTSD react differently according to their age. Despite many children suffering trauma and accidents as a child, not all of them develop PTSD. The same is with adults. If one has more resilient factors than one has risk factors, he or she has a better chance of not developing PTSD. Resilient factors are factors that may decrease one's chance of developing PTSD. Risk factors are factors that may increase one's risk for developing PTSD. An example of a resilience factor, according to the Mayo Clinic, is seeking support through friends. As an example of a risk factor is including childhood trauma or having little or no social support. Having PTSD may also increase your risk of other mental health problems such as depression and anxiety, issues with drugs or alcohol use, eating disorders, and suicidal actions. Treatment for PTSD varies from person to person and depends on how severe the trauma was and how long ago the trauma happened. The course of the illness varies. Some people recover within 6 months, while others have symptoms that last much longer. In some people, the condition becomes chronic. Treatment may include medicines such as antidepressants along with therapy. Some people with PTSD need to try different treatments to find what works for their symptoms. If something has an ongoing event that's causing their PTSD, such as an abusive relationship, both the PTSD and the problem must be addressed for the person to benefit. Other ongoing problems can include panic disorder, depression, substance abuse, and suicidal feelings, though there is no clinical definition for being cured or preventing it because it varies depending on who is being asked. One may be able to help prevent it by getting timely help and support that prevents normal stress from getting worse and developing into PTSD. Getting better means different things for different people. For many people, treatment can get rid of symptoms altogether. Others find they have fewer symptoms or feel that their symptoms are less intense. Anyone can develop post-traumatic stress disorder. Though the disease may feel like at the end of the world, it is manageable through the treatment. People with PTSD must figure out what treatments work best for themselves and consistently work for a better life with the disease.